Oh, good evening, everyone. This is Bob Gomes with the Concerned Forum. And one thing I would like for you folks to do, if you would go ahead and give a check mark, basically, uh, whether you like what I'm saying or whether you don't like what I'm saying. And for those of you who do appreciate what I'm trying to do here, if I could get some subscriptions, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, let's get down to tax here. Listen, we have a problem in the United States, and that problem is Donald Trump. And by the way, if you hear music in the background, that is Billy Joel. And I'm here in Uganda, and I tell you quite frankly, Billy Joel is one of the things that keeps me in touch with sanity about the United States. Now, I think one of the things that really disturbs me is that you have this guy Trump, okay? And to be quite frank about it, I'm very upset because this guy is a pervert, a pedophile, and what really disturbs me is the fact that our media, back in the States, they treat this guy like he's a normal politician. And he's not. He's not a normal person. He's not a normal politician. Yet the media in America keeps treating him as such. And that's wrong, quite frankly. I understand that now there's, out of this latest batch of what is it, the goddamn Epstein files, that Trump actually threatened, I believe she was like 14, and he threatened to kill this young lady and kill her family if she went and basically spoke about what happened between the two of them. And I get so upset and angry when I see these ignorant ass red hat wearing bastards, the type of people that they used to show standing outside of the when Trump had his goddamn I call them Klan rallies, but I guess the media would call them something else. And these are some of the most ignorant bastards that you can imagine. And see, this is what the problem is in this goddamn in the United States. And I'm wondering when people of a have intelligent intellect are going to take over. Quite frankly, now we've had two American citizens slaughtered by ICE. Okay, now I'm going to say something, and I know a lot of people are going to resent what I say, but hey, listen, this has been happening to the black community for the last 200 some odd years. Okay? We're not, we are not immune to law enforcement killing black people, especially black males. This is what this is what happens. So, this is no disrespect to the Caucasian people, especially these last two, that were murdered by ICE. Okay? Uh, they were good people. Both of them were very good people. But I have to say this. This is the type of thing that has been happening in the black and Latino community for the last, what, 200 years. I'm sorry, but that's real. And if you wanted to doubt my word, All you have to do is look up the goddamn statistics. Okay? But it's ironic because for the first time, white Americans have finally gotten the opportunity to understand what black folks have been dealing with in this country for the last 200 years. And I will say this, when Trump came down that golden elevator in 2015, was it 2015? Uh, we warned you, okay? Black Americans warned you. But see, this is the problem with racism in the United States because it's so ingrained that, people will naturally fall to a decrepit, ignorant, sick, uh, elderly criminal, right? You had a black woman up there and so far, everything that she said during the campaign has come true. Now, I am not a fan of how Ms. Harris ran her campaign. I do believe that one of the problems is that you had these people from, left over from Joe Biden, that basically served as kind of a break, a holder or whatever. So unfortunately, Ms. Harris basically followed the party line. And you have to realize something in the Democratic Party, you have a group of, I don't know, they call themselves moderate, I don't know, conservative, moderate Democrats. And that is what has been really stifling the Democratic Party and has cost us votes, frankly. I'm from the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democratic Party. Okay, I'm with the working class people. And I will tell you, quite frankly, the Democratic Party wants to win the elections in 26 and then again in 28. They need to be about working class Americans. Now, what else do we have here? Um, okay, we got a situation, also with the media, the American media. And I understand this to a point because these media folks, they work for these corporations. And these corporations are in the pocket, most of them are in the pocket of Donald Trump. Okay? I think that one of the great things that has happened over the last 10 years is the fact that you have independent media, which tells people, which tells the American people the truth. And that's a good thing. But I think that too often the head honchos of the Democratic Party, they are too connected with the media. Look what happened to CBS. As far as I'm concerned, CBS, everybody, look, CBS needs to be, folks need to have what is it? Don't patronize CBS. Don't patronize the companies that advertise on CBS, quite frankly. See, what I think what Americans need to realize is that we are at war. Donald Trump has declared war on the mass majority of American people. There's no two ways about that. And it's time for the American people to fight back. It's just that simple. You want to keep your democracy, then you need to be ready to fight for it. There's no two ways about it. Okay. It happened. Oh, hold on a second. Pass down my computer here. Trump says latest release of Epstein files absolves him. Oh, really? Now, you know, as well as I do that that's not the case. Okay. But see, that's what happens when when a person like Trump feels that he can control the media. People buy into that bullshit. And it's time to stop that. Look, the greatest problem that you have is that you have a bunch of people, especially in the South. I'm sorry. You got some good people in the South, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Alabama. You got some good people there. But unfortunately, the power structure, it will do everything it can to stop these people from breathing. And because of that, they will do everything they can to stop any type of aggressive movement in this country. It's just that simple. You're talking about child care, you're talking about, some kind of national health insurance, all that good shit. And it's not that different from back in the 30s. Oh, when you had FDR and what he had to do to the chagrin of his wife, Eleanor, they basically had to knuckle under to these to those southern senators. Okay, that's one of the reasons why black folks, up until like when was it? When did my mom get her Social Security? Sometime in the 70s, because they wanted to make sure that black women who did, um, nursing work, who did, um, what do you call it? In terms of doing being maids and cooks and stuff like that, they weren't even included in the original Social Security project. See, and that's because these racist ass Southern white senators from the South wanted, pardon my French, they wanted niggas kept in their place. Okay, and that's what happened, quite frankly. So this is what we're dealing with. That mindset, unfortunately, it hasn't died. It's still alive and well in the southern states, especially. Now, we got some good progressives in these states, in Mississippi, Alabama, Oklahoma, Arkansas, etc. But unfortunately, they are up against this whole, corporate, how should I say, corporate Ku Klux Klan mentality, because they want to keep they want to keep working class blacks and working class whites at each other's throats. That's the bottom line. So this is the problem that we're dealing with today in 2026. This is the problem that we're dealing with. See? And I think it's time that Americans finally grew up and realized just what they're doing. Now, these MAGA people, you are taking the most illiterate, ignorant, backwards portion of the American electorate, and you are allowing them to basically control the whole goddamn problem that we have here in America. And see, the thing that is so ridiculous to me is the fact that you are dealing with a guy, Donald Trump, and this son of a bitch doesn't give a good goddamn about the United States. And I'm wondering when in the hell the mass majority of the American voters will wake up and realize this. It's just like this thing about um what's the name of that guy? But Smith, what have you? The ones that the guys the Republicans hate so much. and because he investigated Trump and all these top secret documents in his freaking bathroom. I mean, come on, people. I did top secret work for almost 5 years when I was at DIA, when I was in the Navy. There is absolutely no goddamn reason why a former president of the United States is going to have top secret documents in his fucking bathroom. And it's insane. And I mean, right now I live in Africa, okay, in Uganda, East Africa, and I come across people, Brits, Chinese, French, even some Americans, and they don't understand what's happening in America. Why in the hell are we why are we supporting a guy who's president who has, he's still, excuse me, top secret documents, and he puts it in his bathroom. Now, I tell you one, I tell you straight up, okay? My son is past military age, and so is my daughter. But I tell you quite frankly, I would never, under this President Hunter, I would never suggest that they go in the military. There's no way. Because this guy, he keeps top secret documents in his freaking bathroom. And then he sits around and he shares his top secret information with his friends from China, from Russia. I mean, come on, right? This is top secret stuff. Do you realize the jeopardy that he places American boys and girls into? I mean, this is, this whole thing about Trump. Um, I tell you quite frankly, I find it astounding. The man is a child. What's the proper word? He is a child predator, a female predator. He got on fucking what's his name, Howard Stern's show, and he brags about the fact that when he was dealing with that whole was it Miss America bullshit, the pageant, and walking through dressing rooms, staring at the kids, the females, which he's a peeping tom. And what really bothers me about these right wing assholes is that they will always the one. They talk about Bill Clinton, they talk about Democrats, they talk about character, and these people, they align themselves with a guy that was a convicted criminal, number one. Number two, a convicted sex offender. And number three, a pedophile, right? At the very least, he runs cover for pedophiles. And, they want to talk about character and Christianity, other BS, right? And, I just find it so freaking astounding. I really do, you know? I tell you, I'm over 65 and I don't recognize the United States. Okay. And then we talk about ICE. Listen, ICE is just about trying to get dark people out of the United States, which I find amusing, quite frankly, because of the fact that dark people basically built the United States. Okay. Um, and see, this is what happens when you have people like those assholes in Oklahoma and Florida that don't want American history taught, see, because of the fact that, I don't know, what did that idiot governor in Florida say? Well, we don't want people to feel uncomfortable. Yeah, well, listen, baby, history is not, it's not there for your comfort level. It's there so that people can learn and understand why they are where they are now. Okay. And I think that that's one of the greatest problems that we have here in the United States because people they don't understand how we got to be here, how the United States got to be the United States. And I think that anytime you have a situation where people really don't know who the hell they are, I think that you're asking for trouble. Right now, you got a president, this asshole wants to attack. Well, he already did. He attacked Venezuela. He wants to attack Colombia. He wants to attack Brazil. He's already attacked Nigeria. He wants to attack South Africa. He's making noise like he wants to attack us here in Uganda. And God knows they want to kill, what's his name, in Burkina Faso. They want to kill Traore. Oh, and not only that, they also want to kill folks in Greenland. So I'm just wondering, when does it stop? When do American people finally wake up and understand? I'm talking about working class Americans. I'm not talking about these assholes with the huge corporations. I'm talking about the everyday working American, okay, that has to go to work to bring home a paycheck. When the hell are you going to wake up and understand what's happening to your country? It's just that simple. Oh, and let's not forget Iran. Okay, you got a president that wants to launch a war upon Iran. Now, listen, I don't approve of the Iranian government. Okay, I'm an American. I believe in freedom. I believe in freedom of expression. I don't like what Iran is doing to its people or what I've heard that they are doing to their people. First thing I want to say is listen, America caused this problem. Back in 54, they had a Democratic elected president in Iran. And because this guy said one thing, he said that look, the oil in Iran belongs to the Iranian people, and we will set our own price. And what America and the Brits did, they got together and they said, hey, we can't have that. So we'll label this guy a communist and we will bring back the Iranian royal family. That's what happened. Now, this is the same Iranian royal family that the Americans and the Brits kicked out. When was this? Like back in 1940? Because they said, hey, this guy, this family leans too much towards supporting the Nazis, right? Now, you think about that. And then, what is it, like 10 years later, after kicking him off the throne, they decide, yeah, well, we want to bring him back because we don't like what the democratically elected president wants to do with their own. And see, quite frankly, um, I mean, being an honest man, being in my own way, being a Christian and believing in, right and wrong, America basically, the problem that you have with Iran, you kind of brought it, we kind of brought it upon ourselves, quite frankly. I mean, you come to my country, you work to kick out the Democratic elected president, and you put in a hateful, vengeful monarchy. Why the fuck should I like you? This is what this is the thing about America that I have never understood. Why do you think you can screw over people and expect them to like you? I mean, there's some kind of psychological magic there somewhere, as far as I'm concerned. And so now, we have a situation with Iran, and Donald Trump wants to bomb these people. actually go to war with these people. And you folks that study economics, you know the hell that that's going to cause if we do that. But what I'm saying is that maybe if you have respected the choice of these people in their country, we would not be in the situation that we're in now. Yeah. It's just like South America, right? Trump feels that he basically can become the viceroy of Latin America. And I don't know how Latin Americans, those folks in South America, I don't know how they're going to feel about it. I mean, I understand that Maduro was not a nice guy. It probably wasn't. But you have a whole bunch of countries across this planet that are ruled by people who are not nice guys. Now, if you are going, what's the proper term? If you're going to be logical and say, well, the United States, our job is to replace governments and leaders of government that are nice, that are not nice people. Okay. Well, if that's what you, Mr. Trump, if that's what you want us to be into, okay, cool. What you should do is you should tell the American people straight up that, hey, we don't like Maduro because he's not a nice guy. We don't like the government in Cuba because they're not nice people. We don't like the government in Colombia because they're not nice guys. Right? And we want the whole Western Hemisphere to do as we say we want them to do and let it go at that. Now, if you want to be about that, I mean, that's fine. The people did elect you, irregardless of, their lack of information, their lack of education, so on and so forth. But they did elect you. So if that's what you want, I mean, that's fine. But you should have the decency to tell the American people that's what we're, hey, well, look, from now on, that's what we're going to be about, right? We are going to be about basically taking down the heads of government that we don't like, and we are also going to strip them of their mineral resources, right? That's what we want to do in Greenland, right? We want to just take over Greenland and take the money, take all their mineral resources. And see, this is like, you know, um, foreign policy for assholes. Because Greenland, I mean, they want, anything the United States wants, they're more than happy to do it. Hey, America wants to put another 2 or 3 bases in Greenland. Greenland and Denmark say go for it. It's not necessary to take over the whole goddamn country of Greenland. Unless, now this is my weird thinking. I have the suspicion that there's things in Greenland that have nothing to do with geopolitics, and it has to do with mineral wealth. Because Greenland apparently they have a lot of they have a lot of good shit there. And what Trump wants to do, he wants to take over Greenland and rip those people off and not be inhibited by the fact that Greenland is an independent country. Now, what bothers me is that you have too many American people that don't seem to understand what Donald Trump is trying to do. And I think that too many of these red hat wearing idiots going around talking about, hey, make America great again. And they don't get it. Donald Trump don't give a shit about you. Okay? It ain't about you. You need to grow up. You need to spend some time in the freaking library and stop sitting in front of your television watching Fox News. And see, that is the goddamn problem. Okay? Because there's absolutely no reason for Trump to threaten Greenland and to threaten Denmark. Just like there's no reason for Trump to threaten Canada. Canada is it's been America's best friend since what, 1917? And, even further back than that. But I don't know. I guess it's because these corporate bastards that Trump hangs out with, I guess they have some kind of idea about, oh, well, we're going to get the natural resources of all these countries. See? And I don't know, so be it. That's what it's all about. And I am so, I'm so tired of white Americans and God rest their souls of those two Americans that were murdered by ICE. But I gotta say it. This to me as a black American, this is nothing new. Okay, I'm sorry. And I know that some white Americans will be very upset with me for saying this. But it's real. You know, Black Americans have dealt with this bullshit from 1619. This is nothing new. But I tell you quite frankly, and I hate saying this, but those two white Americans who were eminently decent, nice, kind people, but them two folks being slaughtered by ICE have shown white Americans what this country is all about. And I guess that's why so many white Americans have taken to the streets protesting because they finally understand what black folks have been trying to tell them for the last 150, 200 years. Okay. That this whole, America, the great dream, and all this other bullshit, that it was just that bullshit. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. Okay. I love the ideals. You read the Constitution, and when you read the preamble of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, sounds good. It really does. The problem is that America has always had a difficult problem putting it in practice. And see, now white Americans have finally seen what we've been trying to tell them about this country. Okay. And I really don't want to hear no shit about, oh, well, yeah, there you go. Black guy being anti-American. Don't hand me that crappy shit. That's what the MAGA fools do. Okay? My people built this goddamn country. Okay? And for those of you who are, I don't know, how do we say it? Immigrants? You folks that came over from Hungary and Poland and Ireland and Italy and Russia and so on and so forth. When you came over here, you came over to a going concern. And the reason that it was a going concern is because of the fact that you had black folks, us darkies, that basically created the wealth that you came and were able to take advantage of. Okay, I'm not saying that white immigrants who came to the United States came over here on a free ride. A lot of you, especially Irish and Italians and Jews from Eastern Europe, you had it damn hard, okay? But you had the opportunity to build on something, okay? You had the opportunity to build upon what black folks from Africa had already created. And oh, you idiots, what is it, FBA? What is it, Fundamental Black America? That is so much bullshit, okay? It really is. I'm born and raised in New York. My father came from the American Virgin Islands. His father was from the Dominican Republic. His mother came from Haiti. Okay? My mother came from Virginia. Her folks built Thomas Thomas Jefferson, Monticello. They built, they built the goddamn United States Capitol, right? So what does that place mean? And just so that we get this straight, these so-called fundamental Black Americans, some of the greatest civil rights leaders who fought for the freedom of Black Americans were immigrants. They came from Jamaica, they came from Barbados, they came from Africa. Ever hear of Stokely Carmichael? Ever hear of excuse me, the Black Panthers? Right? A lot of these people were black folks who came from Jamaica. A lot of us, we are, what do we call it? Binational. So this idea about fundamental black Americans is bullshit. This is just another way for black folks to be divided, right? And see, if you don't understand now what's been going on for the last 200 some odd years, that is what the power elite in this country does. They divide black people amongst black people. They divide white people, white working class people against black people. And that's how come we can't have anything in this country in terms of trying to have a united front for working class Americans. Because these folks, the folks in charge basically keep us two divided. And they learned that game from something way back in like, what is it, 1670 something? With Bacon's Rebellion. See? So these assholes that went around talking about foundational black Americans, they are also a large part of the problem here in America because it's about division. Seriously. Just like that idiot, that black kid, what's his name? Brian Daniels or something running in Florida. This fool's running as a Republican, right? Now, this jackass came from Jamaica. Okay. Yeah. And I know that, Marcus Garvey is rolling over in his grave looking at this son of a bitch, quite frankly. And I would say to my white working class brothers and sisters, be careful when you see some black guy talking about he's a Republican in this day and age. Oh. Now, I don't consider myself, I mean, I did a lot of intelligence work when I was in the Navy, and I was stationed at the White House and the Pentagon working for DIA, okay? And I will not claim that I'm an intelligence expert. But I will tell you, when it comes to the Republican Party, yeah, I'm a fucking expert. You goddamn right. Because I grew up in a black Republican family right there in Harlem in New York City, okay? And this Republican Party that we have now, this is not a Republican Party. This is essentially an embryonic Nazi party. If you think I'm wrong, look at some of the emails from the so-called young Republicans. My old man used to be a young Republican. Okay, and look at this. Look at the shit that they put out. Okay, now I think it's time that the leadership in this country basically woke the hell up. You notice that you don't have any black leadership worth talking about. You don't have any white leadership worth talking about. Seriously, except maybe for like what I know. What's his name? Al. And you also have what's his name? Bernie Sanders that speak out, but that's about it. And I think there's a reason for that. And I left out the present mayor, the new mayor of New York City. And there's a reason for that. It's because the powers that be, they want to keep people stupid. They want to keep people divided. And it's time that people, wake up and realize that. Now, I would say to the Democratic Party, what you need to do, you need to reject all these so-called middle of the road and moderates. Okay? Because listen to me, you are a Democrat, you're a Democrat representative. MAGA and Trump, if you are going to allow these people to basically dominate the political spectrum, you're good as you are as good as dead. Okay? Uh, they're going to kill you. Quite frankly, they're going to hang you from the lamppost. All you Democrats out there, and I would say this especially to people like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, this whole idea about reaching across the aisle, fuck that. Okay? It's not going to happen. Because these people who are committed to Trump, they don't give a damn about you. Okay? They don't give a damn about the average working class white American. So why do you think that they're going to give a damn about anything that you have to say? Remember, when was it? January 6th, right? Trump basically set up his own vice president to be lynched. Okay? When those bastards, those ignorant bastards tried to take over the Capitol building, they were out to kill Trump's vice president. And see, this is one of the things that bothers me about moderate Democrats. They want to bring a butter knife to a gunfight. Okay, this country, America, we are fighting for our political lives here. We are fighting for our democracy. Okay, and if you look at the latest movie about what happened in Nuremberg back in the 40s, it's just like that guy said. You have in every country, you have a group of people that they will be more than happy to kill the other people, the majority of the people that don't agree with them. And I know that's hard to take for many Americans, but hey, it is what it is. See? Do you think that every German during the reign of the Nazis from 33 to 1945, I don't think every German wanted to put Jews in concentration camps and then put them in ovens. But what happened, they let a minority of very hateful people basically take over uh, the whole, well, what's the proper term? Um, the whole idea, the whole political structure of, well, the Jews are the problem. So we have to keep. And by that time, people were so into, burning books and, you know, anti-Semitism and all this kind of shit that a lot of the folks just basically decided to keep quiet and say, well, hey, it doesn't affect me, so I'm not going to stick my neck out. And that's literally what happened. And I am so proud of people in Minnesota who have stood up to winning these guys ICE. Okay, now let's face facts. Most of these guys are ICE. Um, they are really the bottom of the barrel. Okay, um, a lot of them are, Nazis, American Nazis, so on and so forth. And I am proud to see that folks in Minnesota have stood up to that. Okay, and that's what it's going to take if you are going to have a democracy here in the United States. And you have to realize something. You have a segment of the American population. They feel that if democracy has to be extended to people of color and to women, they would rather have an oligarch, right? They would rather have a dictatorship rather than share the fruits and blessings of a democracy to all of us. And I mean, that's unfortunate, but that's just real. And that is a lesson that Americans need to take from Nuremberg. Because remember something, they were, this whole thing about, oh, well, the immigration problem. And, we have these people. It was always bullshit. Okay? Listen, understand something. The United States launched a war, so-called preemptive strike against Mexico. Okay? There was, America never posed a threat to the United States. But we decided that our Southern friends, these big senators who had these big slave plantations, they decided that they wanted the American Southwest. So what they did, they instigated a war against Mexico. Okay? Now, you don't have to take my word for it. It's in American history. Go to the Library of Congress and talk to a guy named Abraham Lincoln, because he was in Congress at the time. Talk to another guy who fought in that war. His name was Ulysses S. Grant. Okay? And the funny thing about Grant said that the Mexican American War was more of a disgrace than the Civil War. Okay, now this is, U.S. Grant. Okay, and what America did, they basically cleaned up. They took what New Mexico, Arizona, uh, Texas, the rest of Texas, California, and in other words, they took the whole Southwest. Right now, for my Latino brothers and sisters, be aware the Southerners wanted to take all of Mexico, okay? But you had too many Anglo Americans that said, no, we don't want to take all of Latino America because of the fact that these people are mongrels. Okay, check the newspapers from that time and you see it for yourself. They felt that Mexicans, Latino Americans were mongrels. And they said, well, we cannot, as a white Protestant United States, we should not try to digest all of Mexico because they are a mongrel people with blacks, indigenous, or what you call Native Americans, so on and so forth, and Spanish. See? And that's why America made good like a fat rat in a cheese factory. But they didn't get all of Mexico. That's the reason why Mexico is an independent nation. Because the Anglos in the United States said, no, we don't want these mongoloid people. We just want the good. New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, California, etc. That's real. That's that. Now, this is the freaking mentality. Okay, so this is what happens when people they don't learn history, and this whole business about well they're coming across the border. Well, guess what? People from that region, okay, below the so-called Mexican border, they've been coming across that border for like the last what 10,000 years. Okay, it's like my man said. Latino people did not land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on them. See, so now you got this big hullabaloo about, oh, well, we got these, Latino, these Mexican folks coming across the border. I mean, this is something they've been doing for like the last 10,000 years. That's one of the, that just points to me, that's one of the bad points about America. Americans think that the whole world stops, and because of the fact that they have a problem, right? Oh well, we ripped Mexico off, so now it's ours. And the hell with what's been going on for the last 10,000 years. See that's the freaking problem that Americans have. And they carry this bullshit attitude around the world. Now, I did 25 years in the American military, and I've seen this. Okay, I've seen Americans go to fucking Western Europe and call people foreigners. All right, that's the mentality. So, hey, then it is what it is. But see, that's the problem that we have here. Now, I can't stand Ronald Reagan. I couldn't stand him when he was president, but I'll give him credit. He tried to come across with some kind of intelligent, halfway humanitarian way to deal with the border crisis. But don't get it twisted. Don't think for one moment that this whole idea about, oh, well, we got to secure the borders from what? You got Italians coming into this country, Irish, Polish, Eastern Europeans, Albanians, but you got this whole thing about, oh, the Mexican, right? And the sad thing is that Latinos are not a monolith, but too many of them, like for example, Cubans, the Venezuelans, they thought that by their proximity, to the Republican Party, that somehow that would give them some kind of safety. And they didn't realize until it was too late that Donald Trump and the Republican Party didn't give a shit about them. And they saw their children, their husbands, their wives, their friends, being dragged off the street. Even, the vaunted Cubans, right? That's why I think that, what's his name? That Secretary of State that used to be a senator from Florida. Uh, that's why I think he's such a big pussy, quite frankly, because he essentially sold out the Cuban American community. But that's another story. What is it, Mario, Rubio, whatever? I mean, it's sad. It is sad. And Trump is trying to run this game about, well, we should dominate the world. Really? You're 4% of the population of this planet, and you feel that somehow that gives you a right to basically, tell the rest of the world what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And I think that's dangerous. And I think that the American people as a whole were extremely irresponsible because you put a man like that into at that time, the most powerful office on the planet. Think about it. This guy, Donald Trump, with his pedophilia and his criminal behavior and his, crazy talk about wanting to kill representatives that disagree with him, and on and on and on. This is the son of a bitch that you put in there to have his finger on the nuclear weapon of the United States. And I want you all to think about that before you go to sleep, when you go to sleep at night. Donald Trump has his finger on the button. He has gathered the fleet in front of Venezuela. He has gathered the fleet off the coast of Iran. And this is the man that, especially you red hat wearing bastards, this is the son of a bitch that you put. Because let's face it, the guy who has his finger on the nuclear button controls the planet. This is what you did. So, no, don't cry to us about, oh, well, the cost of living is so terrible and so high. Well, this is what you voted for, okay? You believed that bullshit when he said, oh, well, I'm a peace president, right? And he has instigated war with about what, 6 or 7 different countries? When you kidnap the leader of a sovereign nation, that's an act of war. I'm sorry, right? When you threaten, like South Africa, when you threaten Uganda, when you threaten Burkina Faso, right? When you threaten Iran, those are acts of war. And this is what you voted for. So think about that. Think about that person that's always walking about 5 or 6 feet behind the president with that little kind of funny looking briefcase. Those are the nuclear codes, right? The President of the United States, he can authorize a thermonuclear strike. If he's taking a crap in the bathroom, he can say, hey, let's blow up half the planet. Yeah, that's real. Okay. And this is the same guy that was busted for having all this top secret material in his freaking bathroom. I really, I don't, maybe I'm Asian. I don't understand the American people. I really don't. This is but see, the thing is, this is what you asked for. Listen, I hope that I have tried to bring some clarity to where we stand now as Americans. And all I can say is take care of each other, right? Stay woke, stay well read, and educate yourselves. Stop wasting time looking at Fox and maybe spend some time in the library, okay? Because we are going through some serious things here with the United States. And I really hope that the American people realize that. But listen, thank you for, giving me the time, bringing me into your homes, your cell phones, your computer, your television, whatever, right? And I do thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to hear what I have to say. Bless you, and you take care of each other. And this is Bob Gumps with the Concerned Forum. Catch us on the next time, okay? Peace. Take care.